Out of there, folks, it's Geist, and in this video we're going to be doing a quick little review of the new seasonal bow Anamnesis. We're going to be mostly discussing god rolls and a couple of little interesting things about it, some perks that people are probably chasing that I want to kind of discuss. This review is for PvP and for PvE, so stay tuned if you're interested in either one of those. I'm going to try to cover the PvP stuff quickly first, and then we're going to discuss a lot of the PvE stuff. Now, to start off, this is the role that most people are probably going for, which is Archer's Tempo with Impulse Amplifier. Now, unfortunately, I don't yet have a God roll with these two perks. As you can see, my draw time is 580. You want at least 540 with it, preferably 500 if you're going for the fastest draw time. But the reason that most people are going after this is, of course, because of archers, always, but impulse amplifier. And this is the big one that everybody's talking about because this is not a perk combo that we've had on a lightweight bow yet. And what it does is it's a 35% increase to velocity. Now, right off the bat, when you're just kind of using the bow, and I have another bow right here. I have a fell taradiddle that I've also crafted to have similar perks as to what I have on my Anamnesis. Doesn't have impulse, of course, that being the big difference. And just aiming at this spot right here, you can see that most of the arrows kind of land somewhere between the bottom and second from the bottom bar, with the occasional one kind of flying below it. And if I swap to Anamnesis, they trend just a little bit higher. But for the most part, still kind of stay near that middle bar down there. And this isn't exactly super scientific, but you can tell that velocity-wise, it does make a difference having it on this bow. And the interesting thing about it is that it's going to help those super low underdraws. It makes them have sort of a... You can use them in those oh shit moments, to quote a buddy of mine, which, shout out to Tikaboo, he's been talking to me about this bow a little bit. Also known as Bleach, also known as a million other names, but I call him Tikaboo. He's the guy that uses Tikus all the time. Anyways, his big thing about Impulse Amplifier is that for a lightweight, when you're getting into close quarter situations in PvP, you go for that first shot as normal, and then, oh crap, somebody's in your face, and you just might fart out the arrow. And within, like, 15, 20 meters, something like that, maybe even 10 meters or less, that arrow is basically just going to instantly hit. And it almost hits right where you're aiming, and especially for the hip fire, which is another point that is worth noting. When you're ADSing with a bow and you shoot, take note of where it's landing. Kind of there near the bottom of the blue on the wall over there. When I go to hip fire, all of them start dropping a lot more. You have more velocity whenever you're ADSing. So for something like this, ADSing, it's hitting right there. From the hip, it's hitting just a little bit below that. Still lower, but it does help the velocity of hip fire shots. So if you're doing a lot of hip firing with this bow, so mouse and keyboard users, you're going to get a lot more out of it. But back to what he was saying, those oh shit moments up close. Supposedly they're a little bit better for trying to just sort of fart out those. Like maybe somebody's rushing you, you get the first shot off and you go, oh crap. Or, I don't know, maybe there's somebody weak and they come near you and you just kind of launch out an arrow. That's what he said, and I'm giving him credit for that. However, my personal perspective is I don't like to ever engage in any kind of firefight where I'm going to be tap firing for any reason whatsoever. Now, this is just me. This is my take on it. And the reason because of that is if they're just a little bit further than that 15 meters, well, now the arrow's arcing downward. It's not going to hit them in the head like I want it to. And furthermore, I don't want to try to hip fire somebody point blank with a bow by tap firing into their face, and that be my way of fighting them. I would much rather pull out a shotgun, this is a glaive, but I would much rather pull out a shotgun or something else that's meant for the CQC and then just freaking blast them. So I don't really like the idea of using it for that. And for that reason, I don't think that Impulse Amplifier is necessary. If you look at this shiny version of the bow that I have here, this is far and away my favorite roll that I've gotten on it so far. And it's because it's got pretty high accuracy, which is good for lightweights. So 63 there. And then I have a draw time of 508 because I've masterworked it, fully enhanced it, all that fun stuff. And then I went ahead and threw a tension mod on it, which boosts the accuracy as well as the draw time. And so mine had an accuracy masterwork, which you can't see right here. But that plus straight fletching and polymer gives me higher accuracy without sacrificing too bad on draw time. Trust me, I don't notice the difference from 508 to 500 on the draw time. And then instead of impulse, I have moving target. I much prefer moving target because of what it does. So you're going to aim faster while ADSing, and it's also going to give you that extra aim assist whenever you're aiming down sights, which is an extra 10 AA. Archers, of course, though I do have successful if I really wanted it, and then we'll get to demoralize here in a second. But the reason I don't care as much about impulse amplifier is because whenever you're using one of these bows, and I'm going to show this on Felterital just for the heck of it, whenever you're using one of these bows and you're aiming and you're shooting, the goal with a lightweight, you can you can hear the difference here. That's fully drawn. That's not. Fully drawn, not. When I'm using a lightweight bow, my first shot is going to be fully drawn almost every single time. My follow-up shot, I'm going to try to underdraw it to get that arrow out as fast as possible. There's a sweet spot with lightweights where they're not quite fully drawn, but almost fully drawn, and they still get most of their velocity. They're not quite hit scan, but they get most of their velocity to the point that it's essentially almost hit scan, which is right there. And that's me doing them repeatedly. And the way to always try to hit this window is essentially just to fire your bow as fast as you can. So let's say that somebody's right here in front of me and I'm dueling with them. I hit the first shot, go into cover, do the normal thing. And then I'm just going to fire that arrow as soon as I reacquire them. I'm going to start drawing and aiming at the exact same time. And I'm going to shoot at them and release the arrow as soon as I see that red dot, as soon as I line it up on their head, without even really thinking about it. And in the time that takes to happen, you're pretty much going to either be perfectly drawn again, if there happens to be a little delay, or you're going to hit that perfect window where you're underdrawing, but still basically getting all of your velocity. And you're shooting pretty darn quick. And what that will allow you to do, especially with Archer's Tempo, is you'll have a TTK somewhere between, it's 0.97 with Archer's Tempo, and it's a 1.05 if you're using a lightweight bow that doesn't have Archer's Tempo at all. So this is very, very important because you're getting right around that 1 second, which isn't a super duper competitive TTK, but it's absolutely something that can duel. 1 second is the same as like a 120 hand cannon, and the difference between a lightweight bow and a 120 hand cannon is, of course, that we have infinite range. So as long as you're playing your ranges, you can absolutely duel using this method. And, you know, I'm talking about all this. What does that have to do with impulse? Well, when I'm hitting this perfect window here, this is me doing it on the bow without impulse. And this is me doing it on the bow with impulse. Now, if you sit here and you watch it and you watch it, it might be just a tad straighter with impulse. It certainly feels like it, or at least I want it to feel like it. But the reality is, I don't need it to be. I don't need that little boost from impulse. These shots that I'm shooting right here are still going to land. So all this is to say, impulse is definitely good, and it's definitely useful for the bow, but it's going to kind of depend on what you want to do with the bow. What do you want the bow to do for you? Because the other thing to keep in mind is, of course, although it doesn't show it here, impulse does boost your reload by 20, which is going to make the arrow come out a little bit faster. Now, lightweights are close to the cap anyways, which is around 80, supposedly. But, and if they ever fix that, you know, maybe it'll go even higher. Let's say you have compact arrow shaft and your reload's higher, you'll get up closer to like 90 or 100. It's what you want it to do. Impulse is definitely going to help your consistency. It's certainly not going to hurt it. And in the case of trying to be aggressive with bows and do those tap fires up close, it's certainly going to be your best option. There's no denying that. I just think that you don't need to weigh all of it on that. Like, don't feel like, oh my goodness, I absolutely have to have this. If you get a roll like this, where you've got moving target and archers, it's going to serve you very well, especially if you get one that has stats similar to mine. It's going to feel perfectly fine in Crucible. And let's swap to this one right quick. This is my shiny roll that has the moving target. It still has what feels like great velocity. And weirdly enough, using this one, this is the one that I must remind you that doesn't have impulse. And for some reason, it feels like it just kind of has better trajectory than Fell. It could also be that I've just been using the new one a little bit more, so I'm a little bit better at the timing, which is probably what it is. But you really don't need Impulse to be doing this. And in my personal opinion, I think that a bow is still a mid to a long range weapon. It's what they're designed to be, and like it or not, that's kind of what they function best as. So I don't think Impulse is completely necessary. Now, that was a long discussion on the PvP portion. The other really cool thing I want to talk about is the PvE role, which is very similar. All you would need to do, pretty similar role we've got here. I would rather have Demoralize in that lost spot for PvE. Precision final blows cause nearby targets to become weakened, and it's very similar to what is the name of that other perk? Blanking on the name of it, but you know, the other void perk that makes targets volatile after getting a precision kill. You guys are going to make fun of me. That's okay. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's not that important. But it's similar to that. So anytime you get a precision kill, it's going to weaken everybody nearby. And if you combo that with something like Gear Falcons, then you're going to get volatile anyways. And this is one of my favorite builds to use in PvE right now, because every time I kill somebody, they're going to be volatile. And they're going to be spreading weaken and volatile. And it just feels... It feels fantastic. It's so much fun. And I know there's not really a whole lot of discussion to be had here because it's pretty straightforward. Just keep landing shots, keep turning invisible, keep weakening, keep turning people volatile. But far and away, I think Demoralize is the best. Anyways. Bit of a rant, a little scatterbrain there, I know. But I just wanted to go ahead and talk about this bow. I know a lot of people are wondering about it right now because it's our new one, and you know it definitely looks really really cool. Which, by the way, super black is a shader I have on this. I know some of you will ask. I just like the way that looks because it makes the little shiny purple cracks show up a little bit better, and it makes the reticle look really really cool as well. But that's pretty much it for PvE and for PvP. Those are what I would consider the god rolls. I think it's definitely a fun bow. I definitely think it's worth chasing. For those of you that are wondering where to grind for this, you need to go to the new activity that just came out during this Act 2 of the episode here. And this activity right here, Court of Blades, is what you want to do. Now, I highly recommend doing the expert version. The expert version really is just barely even harder than the regular one. And you can solo this if you want to. And if that happens, you can try to kill as many bosses as you can, or you can also just let the timer run out. You still have a good chance at getting some rewards even on bronze. So you let the timer run out, you kill one boss, that's it. You go to the end, you collect your rewards. Even when I was doing that, I was still typically getting between like 4 to 6 drops. Now, it is a lower chance, of course, to get adepts and shinies and things like that. Although the shinies, I can't really pin those down anyways. Those just are so rare. No matter what you're doing, it's kind of hard to say what the drop rate is on those. The answer is rare, but I definitely was getting more depths whenever I had a full team and was actually completing it and killing as many bosses as we could. So highly recommend getting a couple friends and running this, or using the LFG system. I've mostly been running solo and just creating LFG groups, getting a couple randos we run through. We kill somewhere usually between like 8 to 13 bosses, just depends on how good the group is doing, and then I get stuff at the end. Don't kill yourself over trying to get the adept version of this bow. I've gotten a couple of adepts that have all been terrible rolls. Unfortunately, the drop rate for this is just not in my favor. I've gotten a heck of a lot of adept glaives and other things like that, but really only a couple of bows. I personally think that the best mod on this is going to be tension anyways, because regardless, even if you get a high draw time, it's still going to help your accuracy, and it's just really good for it. However, if you get a really well-rolled adept, but maybe one of the stats is kind of lacking, then at that point, sure, you can use your adept mods to sort of fix the stats a little bit better. So that can be good if you get that. But don't kill yourself over chasing the shinies and the adepts. I would just say figure out what kind of role you're going for, PvE or PvP, or one of both. Whether you want to go with more what I was recommending with moving target, or you want to go with what a lot of people are chasing right now, which is the Archer's Impulse. And then, of course, for PvE, the Demoralized roll I was talking about. Whatever you're going for, get those rolls, and then I would say don't sweat it after that. Don't worry about whether they're shiny or adept or whatever, because this has been kind of a slog. I've been doing this for days, and I don't know how many sessions, and I still haven't really gotten anything amazing. Now, this one right here is really, really good because it's PvE or PvP. So I guess I can't say that, but I still haven't gotten the really good Archer's Impulse roll that I would like to have just to have. And this one has definitely been a pain. This is the only Archer's Impulse I've seen drop, and it seems like weight gate is still a thing. I know a lot of people have not been getting this combo at all. So, player beware, I guess. But anyways, guys, I know that was a bit of a rant. I hope you found this info useful, and by all means, have fun farming for it. It's definitely a really cool bow. I definitely love the way that it looks, and I love the way that it sounds. And if nothing else, it's been a heck of a lot of fun to use. But anyways, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.